me everywhere, don't you?
I just want to have more of Mike in one spot.
Is that what it is? You're a rock star.
There he is.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Beautiful.
The man.
Sunshiny day.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Give me one moment so I can mix myself up some ionics and drink it during the call because I think that's appropriate.
I know. I was just going to grab mine. Maybe we should all do that.
I'll be there in a second. And I think I might be losing it because I'm seeing double of Mike. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, okay.
That's normal.
I think, Deborah, you've had too much ionics.
Wow, we're so blessed. Give me one moment, folks. Sorry.
Yeah.
I can't get rid of that other one. Why won't it leave? I got to do this.
So I'm doing a recording of this because a lot of people can't be on. And then I'll just cut out. I'll just do a, what do you call it? MP3, and I'll just cut it out, and so the main things are on. Natalie, how do you like the ionics, Natalie?
I love it. I really have so much energy. It's crazy.
The ionics is number one for me.
It's really, it's 6 days now, and I really feel a difference. Yeah.
Woo! All right. So Davor, we're gonna flow, and I think a lot of people can't be on, so I'm gonna just edit whatever we're recording. I'm gonna edit it and then have it, put it on. I can send it to you and all that. Good.
Great. Wonderful. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so let me. I'm just gonna mute everyone 1 sec.
Hopefully everyone finds this of such value that they can't help but share it with others would be the goal.
I already know that, Davor. Wait, am I saying it right? Davor or Davor?
Yeah, either or. I'm good. Davor would be I think the proper pronunciation, but a lot of people call me either or. As long as you're somewhere in the ballpark, I'll respond.
Okay, so hang on 1 sec. Okay, for some reason it's not letting me. So Natalie, can you mute yours? And Catherine, Mikey's already done it. Davor, staying it open.
Yep. Do you want me to keep mine?
Yeah, you keep yours.
Unmuted, yeah.
Okay, now. And then, whoop. Hang on a sec. Okay, so everybody sees everybody, yeah? Small group, do we want it like that or more one-on-one screen? For video, I think it's better for one-on-one screen, so.
We can actually choose our own if we want, Carrie.
Okay, hang on 1 sec. There we go. Okay, so ready to fly. Thank you everybody for coming on. We have a special guest from my hometown, Kitchener-Waterloo, K-Town. And I actually just met this guy a week ago.
Small world.
Small world in the same industry. And he's obsessed with adaptogens and the science behind stuff and nutrition. And it's always good to have someone on that's obsessed with something, right? Then they can really dive deep into those specific things we want to know more about. And as we were just talking about the ionics, and I have a few people on here that are doing like 4 or 5 days into the program. and one of them feels a big difference after 5 days. And the Ionics is one of the products that I would have at least twice a day when I have enough of it here. And I use it for my running, for my sport. And when you read about the adaptogens, what we're going to get into, you can really understand why in performance setting, where it feels like a lactic acid buffer to me type thing. And as we go into, I'm going to introduce Davor in a second, into what the adaptogens are. And each of them, especially that we have in Ionics and the Cleanse and E+, what they're there for, how do we benefit, and why we feel so different with it, right? Especially in sport. So let me introduce a fellow fitness fanatic. And it's a whole, I have a whole essay here, so I have to read a little bit. Davor is a health and fitness and nutrition expert, focused on helping individuals achieve optimal performance. He has over 20 years experience working with athletes, high performers, executives, and individuals to realize their potential and live their best life through nutrition, training, and lifestyle modification. Davor has a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology and Master's from the University of Waterloo, a background in personal training and group training, nutrition coaching, is a respected authority in the sports nutrition industry. He is also certified advanced clinical weight loss practitioner, advanced dietary supplement advisor, and an advanced sport and exercise nutritional advisor through the Academy of Health Sciences. But I know he's so much more than that, even though it was a mouthful. So, topic of the night, adaptogens. He's going to go over, like I said, a few of them. So I'm going to give him the floor right now. And then you'll have time afterwards for question and answer.
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. That was a lot. Thank you. That was great. So I think above all and else, I am obsessed with nutrition, training, physicality, exploring. I like to tell my students and trainees, I like to see exactly what this meat vehicle we've been given is capable of, right? And if you're not exploring the potential of what your body can do, I don't know that you're living your life to its fullest, right? And one of the ways that we do that, or I do that with individuals, is empowering them with the knowledge around how much your nutrition, what you're putting in your body, can change everything. And some of the things that I've seen people do with their nutrition is just, it's mind-blowing, and it just gets me super excited. So I really geek out when it comes to this stuff, and I'm always chasing the why. And you know, like I've got stacks. I should show you my office. I have stacks of studies, and it looks like it's a disaster. It's worse. If you could look inside my head, it would be pretty scary. But when I joined Mike's group and Mike's team, the first thing that I did was took a look at all the products. And I think I caught Mike off guard with the products that I initially ordered, because he called me. He's like, wait, why? That's the last thing I thought you would order. Why did you order those things? So for me, I immediately go to the formulas, because I've spent 12 years in the supplement industry, and I formulate products for other companies. And I'm like the canary in the coal mine. So I never recommend anything that I haven't tried. And if I'm speaking about something that I haven't tried, and I've tried almost everything, then I'll acknowledge that firsthand. Hey, I've never tried this particular thing, but here's my thoughts on it. So I'm very familiar with adaptogens, and I'll tell you, I was very impressed with this Ionics product. Not just the formula, but the taste, because if you've ever tried raw whole ashwagandha root, the nickname, I believe, is horse's tail, and that's because of the smell and the taste. And it is not pleasurable to consume in its raw form, so to have it in this form has been very nice to drink as something enjoyable. I ordered these products. I put them to test for a few weeks now, and I told Mike I wasn't going to give him any feedback until I tried them so that I could speak from experience. So that's what I'm going to do today. So I've got two products that I want to talk about today. Both are Isogenics products, obviously, and I'm going to give you the why. So first, I'll take a step back and say when I work with individuals, the most common thing that I see and the thing that I go after first to correct are two areas in order to achieve optimal health. And I believe if you address these two areas, you're 80% of the way there. One is gut health. The other is insulin sensitivity. Okay. It's important to know that gut health, for example, or not for example, gut health, because you're not what you eat, you're what you absorb. So if you don't have a healthy gut, you're going to have a host of problems right out of the gate. So we address the gut. Then we address insulin sensitivity. And this is one of the big misses when it comes to diet, which is the hormonal component of diets. All right. So insulin, for those that don't know, is the most powerful anabolic hormone in the human body. And if your insulin is out of whack, so you have a condition called insulin resistance, or you don't have a high level of insulin sensitivity, then you're going to have this cascading effect of all your other hormones being out of whack. And if we can correct your insulin sensitivity, more often than not, those other issues become far less or actually end up correcting themselves by default, because no hormone in the body operates in isolation. It's like, I want you to think of it like an orchestra. So if one hormone's out of whack, the whole orchestra is going to be out of whack. And the conductor, the lead hormone, is insulin. And the beautiful part of that is that we can control our insulin levels through what we ingest. We have direct control in almost every case, minus, say, and it's debatable even in type 1 diabetes, right? For example. Sorry, bear with me for 1 second. My dog is crying here. 1 second, sorry. Sorry, she wanted up on the couch and she's distracted. Okay, 15 years old, still doing okay. So insulin. So why do I bring this up is because there's another hormone that's directly related to insulin, and that's called cortisol. This is our stress hormone. And this is where adaptogens come into place. So I was scrambling to write some notes down so that because I tend to go on tangents and rants. So at least I'm going to try and get through all these points. So when we are chronically stressed or high stress, any amount of stress, the body can't tell the difference between the type of stress, whether you've just had a hard workout, or you were watching a scary movie, or you were chased home by a group of vicious Rottweilers. The stress response is the same. The body can't tell one versus the other. The stress response is a healthy response when it happens, but then after we realize there is no danger, and then our cortisol levels regulate themselves, and that's a healthy thing to happen to us. We were designed for this. This becomes a problem when we're chronically stressed. So in today's day and age, we allow our minds to become stressed, but the stress response is the difference. So we don't know, the body, the response is the same whether you're being chased by those Rottweilers or you're stressed because you don't like your boss at work. This becomes a real issue when you're chronically stressed, which most people that come to me have some type of stress going on in their life. And the problem with having that constantly elevated cortisol level is that it impairs the function of the pancreas, which releases insulin, and it impairs adrenal function, which regulates our cortisol levels. So if you have chronically elevated cortisol, you're going to chronically decrease your body's insulin sensitivity. So this is bad. What that means is your body is pumping out far more insulin than it needs to. You're actually going to decrease on your cells, you're going to decrease the receptors to insulin because you have too much going on there. And you're going to have issues controlling your blood sugar levels, which if you stay in this state for long enough, this we would call a state of dis-ease, and you could suffer a cascade of things, including high blood pressure, high inflammation, risk of heart attack, all of these things. So this is bad news for us. The other thing that happens when you have chronically elevated cortisol, so when you're chronically stressed, you actually deplete some of our stress vitamins and minerals, like the B vitamins and magnesium, which then makes things worse because you need those things. You need magnesium in your body to be able to fight stressful situations. Here's the other thing that is very concerning is chronically elevated cortisol leads to higher incidences of visceral abdominal fat. So the fat in the belly that gathers around the organs, and that's the most dangerous types of fat. Your abdominal fat cells have 4 times the receptors for cortisol than any other fat cell in the body. So if you think about it this way, if you're chronically stressed and your cortisol levels are high, your body's going to push out more blood sugar into the body, and those are highly sensitive to that, and they're going to scramble up all that and store that as more body fat. And then you get into this snowball cycle of if you have higher belly fat, then that contributes to higher cortisol levels, and it's just this vicious cycle. So individuals with higher stress levels have higher belly fat levels, which leads to higher levels of disease. Then we compound the factor that when you're stressed, stress eating is a real thing. Individuals that have chronically elevated cortisol levels have a tendency to reach more for comfort foods. This is a survival mechanism. This is a real thing. This isn't made up. I think we can assume that to alleviate the stress response, we want to stimulate the dopamine levels in the brain, which is the pleasure, the reward, the drive center. So we're going to reach for foods that do that. And those foods that we reach for in times of stress tend to be high fat, high sugar, super calorically dense foods. So now, think about this. You already have chronically elevated cortisol levels from stress. Now you have a higher propensity to eat those foods, which those foods contribute to a higher belly fat, because remember, elevating the blood sugar, the cortisol levels, insulin impairment, 4 times the receptor sites on the abdominal fat cells. Like, this gets pretty scary stuff, right? So if you want to control your insulin levels, one of the things you need to manage in your life is your stress levels. There are multiple ways we can do this. One of them is through breath, through lifestyle. I always like, as well as through nutrition, which we can talk about at a future time, but we can always get a little bit more help from these beautiful supplements called adaptogens. So adaptogens, and there was, you got a list for me, Carrie. Sorry, I should have pulled that up, that you wanted me to address here. There was, and you had named all my favorites, so I'm just going to look at them right here. And I'm going to group them all together. We can talk about them individually. Ashwagandha, there's my ashwagandha, rhodiola, Siberian ginseng, schizandra, and shilajit. So these are, if you were to ask me what is your list of top adaptogens that I use, you nailed them, you got them. So adaptogens are a group of supplements that help the body to better cope with perceived physical and mental stress. So essentially, what you will notice in a nutshell, after some people react a little sooner than others. For me, personally, in and around that 2-week mark of taking a supplement of adaptogens, I tend to feel like a lot of things, it's like water off a duck's back type thing, right? The situations that were causing me more stress, that low level of anxiety, don't seem to be doing that anymore. And I'll tell you this right now, when you notice it the most is it becomes very apparent when you stop taking the supplement, because all of a sudden this low level of anxiety creeps back in. And the reason why that is because it's taken time to creep in. And it's like boiling a lobster, where you put it in the cold water and you turn up, or is it the frog? I can't remember, but you turn up the heat and slowly over time so it won't jump out of the pot. That's what happens with us with chronic stress. It creeps on you in these tiny little amounts, and before you know it, it's there and you don't know it. You just assume that's your baseline and that's your new normal. And that's not a good state to be in. So these adaptogens, basically what they do is they fortify us against that fight or flight response. So that feeling of anxiety, blood pressure increases, heart rate increases, your blood vessels start to constrict, the body releases more blood sugar and takes that blood sugar into the fat cells for energy. All of these things occur during the fight or flight response. All of these things, these adaptogens, help combat against. This is what's really cool about these adaptogens, is this class of supplements has a unique ability to meet what your body needs. So different people react to stress differently based on their genetic makeup, but also what stage of stress, of chronic stress they are in, right? So these adaptogens will behave differently in people's bodies, because some people, I'm not sure if anyone on this call has felt it, but where you get to the point where you're so stressed, you just have no energy left, right? In those situations, taking adaptogens will provide you with that energy. In other situations where individuals feel that stress and it's go, 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 and they're so high strung, those adaptogens for those people will cause more of a sedation. So it will bring them back down to normal. So they're not feeling like they're sprinting on the hamster wheel, right? So it'll normalize you. The other thing which Carrie mentioned, which I thought was beautiful, almost every adaptogen listed there, particularly ashwagandha, Siberian ginseng, and shilajit, have all shown performance benefits. So increased endurance, increased stamina during sport. And I would suspect, at least in part of that, is reducing your rate of perceived exertion. So without these stress adaptogens, if you're running for a kilometer at a certain time and your rate of perceived exertion, so you feel like you're working at a 9, taking those stress adaptogens, that same amount of work may make you feel like you're at a 7 in terms of how hard you're working, right? So that, at least in part, is where that performance benefit is coming from, along with some other efficiencies of metabolic processes in the body, right? So increased endurance, increased stamina. The other benefit, especially from ginseng, is another good one. You get enhanced immune response from that. So the adaptogens are also immune boosters. So, which I think right now is a wonderful thing to have. I mean, just by default, if you reduce your cortisol and you reduce your stress response, there's a less likelihood that you're gonna fall ill, but definitely some immune enhancing abilities. And then decreased perceived stress, which I already mentioned. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, schizandra, which is the schizandra berry. I really like this one. Now, what I've noticed from my own anecdotal work and work with individuals, schizandra on its own isn't that effective, but when you combine it with other adaptogens, it amplifies the effects of those, and the impact of the schizandra becomes more noticeable. But it also has some added benefits of liver boosting. So it boosts the liver's ability to cleanse toxins from the body. And then the other one, which is one of my go-tos that I absolutely love, I feel like I said that about every one of these, but is rhodiola. Rhodiola rosea is a beautiful stress adaptogen in its ability to help with endurance, perceived stress, but more so helps with cognitive function during times of stress. So if you've ever felt that point where, and I think there's Bacopa in here as well, which would do the same thing. Yes, there is. Bacopa monnieri is in here as well. Not to mention, and I don't want to gloss over the fact that there's a bunch of other nutrients and other things in there, but we're just highlighting some of my favorites because it's my call. I can do whatever I want. But rhodiola is also helps with cognitive function. So if you ever get into that state where you're so stressed, you feel like you can't group your thoughts together. I know that I've had that feeling sometimes before I go do a big talk in front of a big audience. You get nervous, and I use adaptogens in those scenarios as well to help calm me down and help me think clearly so I could string my sentences together properly and I'm not fumbling for words. But rhodiola is a wonderful one for that there. I'm trying to think sorry, I've been rambling. I think I kind of covered almost everything I wanted to. I don't know, Carrie, how was that?
Perfect. Now, I do have a question though. Before you had Ionics, were you
Yes.
taking all these individually?
Yeah. So I would, yeah. And I've spoken to Mike about this too. I've had some really good luck with individuals who come to me that are such as yourself, Carrie, that are in the industry. And I've kind of carved out a niche of working with, as you know, some of these fitness individuals who ruin their body. Mike, you can attest to this, ruin their body, their insulin sensitivity, their hormones through doing these silly things like bodybuilding competitions and create all kinds of hormonal imbalances. These individuals come to me and they're highly motivated and they will do whatever it takes to restore their health. So in that case, I can list out 30 different supplements and these people are happy to buy their pill box and do this and set their calendar and their timer and take each individual pill and do all these things. That most individuals are not that. And if they come to me and I give them 30 different supplements, they're going to go, yeah, I'm not doing that. See you later. Which is why I like a lot of the formulas that come together, because you get these all-in-one formulas that are so well designed and they're easy to take. So that's a huge advantage of Isogenics. But yes, I was taking these individually. Yeah. I've been doing this by the way, I've been doing this for years. And what I'll do is I'll take each individual adaptogen, trying to keep everything else in my life the same to truly understand what each one does. Because when you start combining supplements, then you don't know where did I get that effect from, right? So for example, taking Schizandra on its own, I didn't really get a noticeable effect, but taking it with ashwagandha, it was like supercharging them both.
Isn't that interesting? Do you think that it affects, well, you said it too, but it affects everyone differently. It depends what's going on in their life. So like you said, some people need it to come back to the middle. Other people need it to boost up. Right?
Because so it depends on what stage you're in of chronic stress, because here's what will happen generally is if you're in the earlier stages of chronic stress, and I mean, again, everyone's a little bit different, so I'm kind of generalizing. In the earlier stages, you'll have chronically elevated cortisol levels, but eventually your receptor sites for cortisol on the cells will say, it's the same thing that happens with insulin. So I use the lock and key model for this. So if you think of insulin as the body pumping out a bunch of keys, and you have all these locks on your cells, the keys go, open the locks, and then storage happens. That's what insulin is a storage hormone. If you're constantly pumping out all these keys, the body's smart. The body goes, we don't need this many locks. We got way too many keys. So it'll down-regulate the receptor sites. It'll make the locks smaller and fewer over time, right? Then the body has to pump out even more keys because there's fewer locks. And eventually the adrenal glands and the pancreas just get tired and they go, that's it, I'm done. I'm done with this insulin stuff. It's too much. Same thing happens with cortisol. So you get this chronically elevated cortisol, and then eventually the body goes, we've been doing this for way too long. We don't need this much cortisol. And then you go for your cortisol test and you tell your doctor, hey, I'm super stressed. I'm always tired. Something's wrong. Something's not good. they test your cortisol stressed, and now you're like, well, now I'm really screwed. What do I do, right? So that is the unique attribute of these adaptogens, is they tend to react differently to different people based on what their body needs. So the beautiful thing is they're low risk, in my opinion, because they're never going to they're going to help the body achieve homeostasis or balance. They're never going to push something out of its optimal zone, right? By the way, I'll just throw this out there. Ashwagandha is, in my opinion, the only supplement that has really strong, reliable clinical data to elevate testosterone levels in male and to balance and optimize hormones in females. Shilajit is another one. Those are the two. That's the combination. So when guys come to me and say, hey, my testosterone's low, I need something, give me a test booster. And I say, I fool them. I tell them, oh yeah, this is a test booster. And I give them ashwagandha. It's a stress adaptogen. Testosterone and cortisol are inversely related. So if you have chronically elevated cortisol, chronically elevated stress levels, it's going to suppress your testosterone levels chronically, right? Adaptogens come in and they reduce the cortisol and allow the body to create testosterone, because the precursors to cortisol and testosterone, they're the same. It's the same pathway.
Well,
right?
this is how they a lot of people advertise this too, is increase sex drive, libido.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Can I give you another one though?
It's a huge thing that they experience with this.
Yeah.
And then they order 10 bottles for some reason.
Hey, I'm telling you, this is the first thing I ordered. You can ask Mike. I'm a pretty transparent, truthful guy. The other one is this. If you want the ultimate performance enhancing supplement, and I come from a world of all these young kids want all these pre-workouts and energy. Now, you want to increase performance, you optimize your sleep. You want to increase, this is what I mentioned this on the call this morning with Mike's team. The greatest tool that we have to optimize hormones, insulin sensitivity, for guys, testosterone, I'm very familiar with that one there, but for females as well. Listen to, I use this one all the time. If you get 1 hour of less sleep than 7 hours, you need a minimum of 7 hours sleep. So if you get 1 hour less of that, your testosterone levels will decrease by about 30%. There's no supplement in the world that will increase your testosterone by 30%. And if there is, I haven't found it. And I've done a lot of research. Maybe you'll get, I don't know, anecdotally a 5 or 10% lift. So great. You lose an hour of sleep, pop your pill, and now you're still 20% in the hole on your testosterone, right? Chronically elevated cortisol. Every hour of sleep you lose, your ability to metabolize carbohydrates decreases 7 to 15%. So if you go to sleep at night, you only sleep 5 hours, you wake up in the morning, you do your fasting blood sugars, you could test pre-diabetic after just one night of poor sleep, right? I've been taking this, I gotta tell you, I think 8 or 9 days now, and I've had 8 or 9 days of unbroken sleep.
Unfortunately, in Europe, we don't have that one yet, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay,
Ladies
then
can't.
disregard.
Yeah, we have the basics.
By the way, sorry, I'll just throw it out there too. Ashwagandha has been clinically shown to help insomnia as well.
Yeah, so some people will take the ionics to sleep, like if they're not.
I do.
You can have
I
that
usually
too.
do one mid-afternoon and one in the evening before bed.
Perfect. I'm going to ask the girls or Mikey, if anyone has a question for Davor, because I know, just want to honor your time there, guys.
Yeah. Sorry, was that okay? Was that what I went through? I know I tend to, I get passionate about this stuff and I just go. So hopefully it was.
Yeah, we'll listen to it again. I'll cut it down, the first part, like, and then put it on my site and I'll send it to you too. So you can, sometimes you have to listen to it again.
Yeah.
I know maybe when they're German, Natalie and Catherine are Austrian, so they speak excellent English, but to hear it details in
sorry, I go quick too, right?
Details in English, you don't maybe get all the little, just like if I'm
I think, you know, to kind of summarize it or wrap it up, I'm a huge advocate for adaptogens. If you've got clients that are looking for fat loss, even if their diet is perfect, go back and listen to this. And the summary is that if you cannot control your stress levels, no matter what you do with your diet, you're going to be at a physiologic disadvantage to lose the body fat. And that can be very frustrating for individuals because I'm doing everything right. Why can't I lose the weight? Why can't I do it? I'm eating well. I'm eating healthy. You got to look beyond sometimes the food and into the lifestyle and the stress. That's a huge factor. I do another practice, as Mike knows, called metabolic analytics, where I test 14 points on the body fat. This is a Charles Poliquin practice. And the differences between the sites tell me something about what's going on in the body in terms of a hormonal imbalance perspective. And it's almost to the point now, I've done so many where someone walks in and I can get pretty good at guessing. And I've had individuals come into my office and we'll talk through these things and I'll do their test and I know they have chronically elevated cortisol levels and they can't lose the fat. And when I start asking the right questions, then they break down and yes, I am stressed chronically. We address the stress and the body fat starts to address itself. It's unbelievable, right?
Yeah. It's funny, even with last week, just 2-3 nights of a lot less sleep. I don't need a ton of sleep. Like, I mean, I can 7 hours is fine, but it was a lot less last week. And I noticed it on my body.
Yep.
Like I noticed in here, but I also noticed my body just felt frumpy and funny from a week of a lot less than what I'm used to. I could feel it in my middle. I could feel it. It's funny. And I wasn't doing anything else different.
Yeah, well, think about what happens if you're not sleeping and your body is, if your cortisol levels are up, that cortisol is going to trigger the release of glycogen from the muscles into glucose, into blood sugar. And so if you remove the glycogen from the muscle, guess what follows it? Water, right? So now your muscles are going to look flat, right? And you're going to feel it more in the belly. I mean, it's very short term and you can reverse it very quickly, right? On those days, I would increase your adaptogen dose for sure, right? That's going to help you. Just start with that first thing in the morning. And hopefully you can bring the cortisol levels down, maybe do some breath work, some relaxation, all that stuff. And then the body will reverse that and uptake that back as glycogen into the muscles. So it's short term. But if you do that chronically, then it's not short. Then you're going to do some long-lasting metabolic damage that's going to take a little more time to reverse, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Perfect.
I was just going to jump in for a minute if I can. It's Devor, I took your advice there. I stopped my sleep spray and the ionics on Saturday just to see what I'd be like going into this phone call so I could actually have something to say. I know what it does. And honest, today has been the worst of the worst. Last night it was a disrupted sleep. I feel sluggish today. I'm looking now. I was hoping to get a nap in before this call. It's unbelievable. Like you said, you don't realize until you pull it out how your body is screaming for it. And I can't wait after tomorrow's cleanse day to go back on again full force. So it was a great test.
Yeah. But I've been taking ionics for 13 years, if you can believe it.
Good for you.
But when I stopped and couldn't get it anymore, did I ever notice?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like I said, I mean, I've been doing I've got this. So now I've set this aside, but this is raw ashwagandha powder. And like I said, it's not the most pleasurable thing to drink, but when you, and I've taken it in pill form and all that before, but when you feel something working so well, then you'll deal with the taste to get it in there. But this is beautiful. We don't have to, right? This is actually a nice, refreshing little drink. I like the way it tastes, right? It's enjoyable. And I would encourage, as I always do, the difference with this supplement is you're going to notice the feeling. you will, after, like, give it, 7-10 days. By 14 days, you should feel a difference, like just less anxiety, stuff that normally would have sent you off, and you're going to be able to better manage those things, and it's going to be more of a meh attitude. It's not a big deal. No big deal. Lost $100 today. No big deal. Whatever it is, right? Just things won't bother you as much. It's noticeable, right? And that's a huge selling feature. So I encourage everyone to try it and then speak from experience. That's the best sales tool, in my opinion, right?
And we have our 2 cleanse days as of tomorrow, and it's in the cleanse too. So in our cleanse, there's 3, the ginseng, ashwagandha, and rhodiola. It's in the cleanse.
Perfect. Those are my 3 favorite
shots. So, and that's why on cleanse day, you're so kind of chilled right out, baby.
Yeah.
Clarity here.
Yeah. Well, there is another, when you're not eating food, right? The body will have a stress response to that too. So I really like that idea. Having those adaptogens in there on the cleanse. That's great. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah.
Anybody else have any burning desire questions? Okay.
Hopefully I answered them all.
And if not, when I post it and people in the group have questions, I'll just send them to you.
Yeah, amazing. And Carrie, if thank you for the opportunity. This is amazing. And if I can help the group in any way, like if you guys want to cover a different topic, if you found this of value, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to help.
You're the best, my friend. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right, take care. Enjoy the day, guys. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Take care, Bear.